States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Everybody, in remembrance of the events that occurred several years ago on this date, Mr. Bradford would like to offer.
You're actually singing the national anthem, so if you would stand again. Probably will again. 1, 2.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free, and the home of the
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's board meeting. And our first order of business is to hear from Mr. Bradford and about a trip to Italy.
Imagine that, huh?
Yeah.
Thank you for letting me address the board and guests and everything. The people leaving, in fact, the young lady on the end there, is Erica Robinson. And today we were talking about coming here and singing for the volleyball game. And they go, she goes, I think about New York every day. I have it up on my wall. And the last time I came here, in last December, we went to New York. And Jacoby and several of those kids got to go to Ground Zero, and it was amazing. I have a picture of Jacoby and Matt Byland, who graduated, on the wall reading the names. And these kids, you know, they remind me, they weren't really of the age to remember, but it was pretty meaningful. So everything you have granted us, we're appreciative for. So again, Hong Kong was a summer ago, and I sat here very enthusiastically telling you about the results and thanking you for that. And it kind of gave me a new outlook on what we should be doing and what could happen with Beech Grove, and it made me realize we need to just reach bigger. And with the support of my administration, I thought, you know, let's keep doing this, let's see what happens. As I pursued that, I found out that Brownsburg just finished a trip to Italy. So we've been talking about this for about 6 months, talking to my choral parent organization, do you want to do this? Do you want to raise money? Is this something you want to do as a group? And then, of course, the kids, they'll raise their hand, go anywhere? They, you know, not quite the same commitment level. So then we decided, yes, last spring, actually last June, we decided let's go further with this. I've surveyed 3 companies, and we're going with music travel consultants. We had gone to New York with music celebrations, and I'd gone to Hong Kong kind of on a different place. The band had just recently gone to Disney with music consultants, music celebration is where we went to Washington, D.C., so it flipped around. So one of the questions you may have is why this company? Local band directors, musicians, they just finished taking Brownsburg to Italy. The gentleman who's leading our tour, Jeff Furr, was Southport's band director. So I felt very comfortable that people in our area have already done this. Debbie Prather and I have talked on email, and we're going to get together and talk about the details once you and if you approve this. So I have done some research, at least why and how going across the seas. The other thing is Franklin Central is doing a Germany trip. So the parents and I said, do we want to go to Germany or Italy? And of course, split ideas. But we decided to go that you know, to be able to sing in the Vatican area, to be in Rome, some of the ancient things. We just thought that was musically appropriate. Versus going to Mozart, Beethoven, you know, it's really a hard call. But we landed on that. The itinerary I just laid at your desk is a little more detailed than what Dr. Kaiser may have received from Mr. Cox. This is actually the one so far that we're on, and it will change. Last night I had a parent meeting, first parent meeting for this trip, to say here's what it is, here's what we're looking at. The cost is about $3,300 with airfare, with 7 nights and 4 cities in Italy. Okay, pretty good. All, like most trips, all their dinners and morning are taken care of. Morning with continental breakfast, dinners, Italian restaurants and cuisine. The interesting part would be lunches, as you want it. You're going to eat the national cuisine and the area food. And so that's why lunches are on their own. Our hopes as a choral society, and to be flat honest, the big goal is to raise $1,000 per singer to cut the cost back for each kid. I wouldn't have thought that was possible, but with some of the help we got for Hong Kong, it was pretty close to that. Hong Kong was $2,000, not counting passport, because the Hong Kong Institute of Education subsidized that. And once we got on the ground, it was only $100 per night for everybody. Quite amazing. That's why we did that on a quick ticket, because they kept offering me that. I said, no, 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 I'm not taking people. And I don't know if you heard the horror stories or not, but the Indianapolis airport, Air Canada, made us split our party and trip. So I had already been hit in the head with a 2x4 and survived. I thought, here we go again. Poll was last Friday, Dr. Keeley. So, and I'm fine, by the way. So this trip, we're looking at taking 2014 this summer. I was looking at June 16th. That's the date you had probably in your notes. For clarification, now it's June 9th. I called Ms. Morgan and said, you know, what are we looking at as far as our calendar? Can we move these dates? Of course. If you have a balanced calendar like we have this year, and graduation is on the 6th, I think, this year, on a Saturday, that puts us basically in 2014, not next summer, but the next, leaving on this Monday after graduation. Because there's some type of festival in Rome where a lot of the hotels are booked and taken care of, and so the expense would have gone up where it didn't make sense. So I asked Mr. Clevenger, just giving you background for research, if we could move the stamp show and my choreographer, we can move the recital, and I'm looking at facility rentals, and it looks like we can go June 9th. So long story, what's in your hand, June 9th to the 16th, Monday to Monday. The itinerary won't be exactly this, but it's pretty amazing as it is. The DC family seen in Siena going through some of the Tuscany villages, one of the most ancient hills, you know, and historical avenues down the Roman area. Of course, seeing the Vatican, seeing Michelangelo and the Sistine Chapel, doing things like that. 2 right now performances. We have the opportunity to sing in a Mass and do the ordinary of the Mass, the 5 parts of the Mass, but that would mean a lot of rehearsal time. And it depends on my kids who chooses to go, because I have to have a balanced choir. Because it's all a cappella, because the organs in Italy are in great shape. They are ancient as well. So not knowing yet who am I taking, I don't know if that's possible, but that would be another addition to the itinerary. You have to get that approved, you have to submit all your musical aspects. Then it could be St. Peter's Cathedral, you know, just flat out, one of the largest, most known cathedrals in the area, but don't know that yet. Just at minimum, what they say is it's not at middle road or basically taking middle ground. These are some amazing churches that are already set up that are in this brochure. Because I asked that, I said, you know, you could be taking me to McDonald's and I want to go to at least Steak and Shake. And I was insured, you know, from the other trips, and asked Brownsburg's director, Ms. Prather, what they thought. One of the parents recommended that we, you know, she has a missionary and we go to Milan and sing at the missionary's church, but it may be too far, so again, planning stages. If you look on the back page, they have set up every other month about $350. I'm allowed to put in credit anytime I want, and the company, which I'm loving, because Hong Kong was all on me, does everything online. So the first payment will go to Beech Grove through the Education Foundation. That $100 non-refundable will be holding their spot. I asked last night at the meeting, we can change that up to September of next school year. That means the incoming 8th graders that will be in my program as a freshman still have the opportunity to go. And every child that's sitting in my chairs now has the opportunity to go. I warn them that if they're seniors now and they're looking at a trip a year away, their life could change a lot. So some of them having the other opportunities that you've granted us, this may not be the trip for them, and some of them have chosen not to look into Italy. I get that. I kind of recommend that. Okay? So there's the basis. The installments are set up to where they would be paying close to $175 a month. We have about 18 months plus to plan this trip. The meeting was well attended. My guess is I have about 37 people with 22 kids that are interested right now. And that, again, will probably go up in March when I have recruitment and kids coming from the middle school. Beech Grove's economics and families may not be able to handle that, but it's a trip, as I told them, if they choose to do, they will never regret. And some are already saying, I've got this coming from grandma, I'm going into the trust. You know, you don't want people to spend unwisely or haphazardly, so I'm trying to remind them of what it is and what it is not. But I think it could be a grand trip. Do you have any questions for me?
One of the stipulations that the superintendent got to go carry luggage.
Are you, health-wise, you're all right? It's a long haul downhill.
I'm pretty good.
They said the shoes are good. Okay.
For the kids that think now that they're going to go when they start putting money in, what would happen? if-
Cancellation, great question. I asked that specifically. There's all kinds of transfer except for that $100. And what I can do internally, if Janice King's daughter is going and then she graduates differently or gets a job, we can transfer that money up through that September of 2013, which is next fall's enrollment. There is a 90-day window for air flight and whatnot. What I had to do for Hong Kong is call Homeland Security and change any name problems, including my own. I used my full middle name and my passport didn't have it because my driver's license didn't have it, but my ticket was my full name. Things like that. So they're just because of the times that we live in, 9/11 exactly, guys, they are very cautious about how the documents are written. I've been schooled in that now well enough that we are trying to coach them. It happened to Brownsburg, and one young lady had her sister's middle name, and mom did that. So they got held up in customs. It can happen, and there's all things that can happen. What I would do is, at the last couple of trips, I've taken an alumni, Stacey Lingelball, and she's going to go again. She went to Hong Kong with us, New York. She's Brownsburg's vice principal now, high school, and if I hadn't taken her when we got split in Hong Kong, I don't know what I'd done. She spent 7.5 hours on the phone with the ticket people, and I left with Jacqueline Lynch and I with no boarding pass on the way to Detroit to go to Hong Kong. It's like, all right, here we go. And the agency gave me their phone number. All those things happen, but you just figure it out. The worst happened, and it was still grand, despite all that. It's like, I compare it to childbirth. Sorry, ladies, I don't know that, but you forget, you remember the greatness, and that was there.
Do you also have a cutoff for them to have their passports received, so you don't have to wait till the last minute? And stuff?
I do, and people do, and you want to strangle them, and all of that is given, documented, explained, and it did not happen for the Hong Kong trip, but I am pretty early with task, and I set a date in March, and we left in July, and I had people in June still without passports, and yet, luckily right now, the passport system is a lot quicker than they explained. They didn't even expedite their passport documents, they still got plenty of time, so I'm not as fearful of that, because I think mine came within a 2-week time period, just under normal. Yeah.
Does anybody else have any questions? Anybody who would like to make a motion to approve this trip?
Thank you.
Or the planning stages of this trip? Yep.
Second.
Was it Rick? Hi, Rick. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
All right, thank you.
We'll look forward to our tickets in the mail.
Exactly.
It's only $3,300, about $3,300.
That's right.
Yeah, and if I get that $1,000, yeah, there you go. November 1st, you have to have your first installment, it's in right here. All right. Thank you, we're gonna go sing for the volleyball game.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam President, I'd like to challenge the school board to come up with $1,000 between us all to donate to the choral department.
Okay, well, we'll see what we can do. We don't have to vote on that.
No, I just want to put that out
We
there.
can help. You never know what we can come up with.
That's
We're
right.
creative.
I know.
Okay.
Well, on that note, the appropriate way to do that is also through the Education Foundation.
Absolutely.
By donating through the Education Foundation in the past, they have been our fiscal agent to help in the process. So I think the good thing is, even at the upcoming festivities this weekend, we can have donations for trips, for the trip if we'd like. So there's different ways to go about that.
Does part of the purchase of the apparel, is any of that go towards the education?
Honestly, don't know that question. As far as the spirit wear,
Yeah.
we have the flexibility to do different things with that.
Well, maybe, if we decide to do that or something, everybody come out, buy some spirit wear, maybe we can donate a little bit of money to the Education Foundation to help that trail.
That would be great.
Okay, and Melody, we have a presentation today?
We do. We are absolutely thrilled. We have some great supporters that really believe in Beech Grove City Schools, and one of those is the Indiana Farm Bureau. And we have two wonderful representatives here today who are here to make a very special presentation. And we want to make sure you know about that. Beech Grove City Schools has an agri-science program, both in our middle school and in our high school. And we have started an FFA chapter, and which is very exciting. We're one of the few urban schools to do that. And it's really started off with a bang, and we're really proud of that. And so we wanted to have a presentation tonight because, like I said, Indiana Farm Bureau is supporting that FFA chapter by presenting to Beech Grove City Schools tonight with a $5,000 check to fund that FFA chapter. So we're thrilled, and we want to take a nice picture. We have a nice big check that is huge, and we'd like Dr. Kaiser. I will introduce the players. Let me do that first too. Standing in the picture tonight, number one, we have Mike and Raylene Honeycutt, and they are from Indiana Farm Bureau, if you want to stand. They're the wonderful people that made this happen, so thank you very, very much. And as part of our presentation, we have Bruce By, who is chair of our advisory board. So Bruce, thank you. Who is our agri-science teacher at the high school, and he's the advisor to the FFA chapter at the high school. Himself is our agri-science teacher at the middle school. And Dr. Kaiser, you know, as our superintendent. And Mr. Cox, who is principal of the high school, and Mr. Gearhart, who is principal of the middle school. So we want all of them to participate because this program benefits all those schools and the Beech Grove City School Corporation. So we'll do a presentation right back here.
Okay, well, while everybody gets seated, we're going to start with Student of the Month. Mr. Collins, could you start us off?
Okay, let's start with the middle school. Mr. Gearhart, Beech Grove Middle School.
Good evening, and welcome to another wonderful school year. Just to update you on a few numbers, which I'd like to do from last May and this fall. As of this morning, our enrollment was 442 students. Last year, it was 409. Last June, Beech Grove Middle School awarded 232 AAA awards to our students. And that is a student that is involved in 3 activities over the course of the year. Just to put that in perspective, we had exactly 132 the year before. So our extracurricular participation is certainly increasing. More evidence of that, because we're all about evidence here at Beech Grove City Schools, is that last year when I stood before you, we had 140 athletes that were participating in fall sports. The year before that, we had 123. This year, we have 159 athletes that are participating in 4 fall sports. I want to send out congratulations to our girls cross-country team who took first place last Saturday over 7 other teams in the Whiteland Invitational. Their record is 10-2. Our boys are 4-8. Our girls volleyball, if you have an opportunity to come see them, they're pretty fun to watch. Our 7th grade is 5-1. Our 8th grade is 6-0 right now. And both 7th and 8th grade football are 2-1. Just to update you, our introduction to agriculture, natural resources, and food class is in full swing, and every single 8th grader is enrolled in that class. That is, again, for college credit. There is a possibility of you entering Beech Grove High School with 5 credits. If you're in ag, both semesters, Algebra 1 both semesters, and you take summer PE, you can start your freshman year with 5 credits, which I think is wonderful. But now for the main purpose, our student of the month, Brian Davids, if you would come up, please, right over here. You may have noticed Brian come in a little bit late. He just completed, how long ago? 20 minutes ago, half an hour ago, our first home cross-country meet. Brian has been selected as the Beech Grove Middle School Student of the Month for September. Brian is willing to put forth whatever effort is needed to be successful in the classroom and on the athletic field. He brings a problem-solving nature to his work and thrives in situations where he is challenged. Brian's positive attitude and energy help create an atmosphere that values learning and accomplishing great things. His leadership and dedication in the classroom has translated into being not only a top cross-country runner in Marion County, but also an athlete who has a natural command but does not demand leadership. Brian is bright and energetic. Brian is a bright and energetic student and brings a positive impact on Beech Grove Middle School. Congratulations to Brian and his family. Here's that. And then we're going to go right over underneath the horn and get a picture taken.
Well, good evening, everyone. I'm Erin Probus, principal at Hornet Park Elementary School, just across the parking lot here. I'm really glad to join you this evening and let you know that 2012 and 2013 is off to a strong start at Hornet Park. Our numbers are up, as Mr. Gearhart shared with middle school. We have 487 kindergarten, first grade, and preschool students, 9 classes of first, 9 in kindergarten, and 2 preschool classes. These first 26 school days have been filled with mature, eager to set a good example first graders that are showing our kindergartners appropriate classroom procedures and behavior. It's also filled with kindergartners who are eager to learn, a little nervous at first, but becoming more comfortable and familiar with how to behave at school and how to function and learn the most they can each day. And also filled with an incredible staff and set of teachers that are helping to bring out the inner hornet in each of our kids. So it's neat to see, we've only been in school 26 days, how far we've come in that amount of time. It is not a reflection, though, of just the work of a few people. It's instead a collection of strong commitment from a large group of people. And so I wanted to just give a special thanks, and I feel like this is the part where it's going to feel like the academy. It's like I'm just going to rattle off some people. But I just want to share my gratitude to these people. First to Mr. Kit Collins, who spent much of the first week with us, checking bus bracelets, helping with lunch duty, all those little things that are special to a K-1 building. Also to Mr. Wagner and Mr. Dale Reed, they worked on facilitating a new car rider line procedure. It has really increased efficiency and safety for our families, so thank you. For maintenance and grounds, so Keith, Ben, Joe, Brent, and John, they've helped in keeping our building looking nice and running smoothly on a daily basis. Anytime a heavy piece of furniture needs moved or something needs tweaked, they're right there to help. It seems like they really understand that all of those pieces contribute to a safe and orderly environment for learning to take place. Our custodial team, especially Joan Shaw, gave the school literally a clean slate to start the school year, which was much appreciated. Our office team, Michelle Foster and Cammie Rubin, were very organized and got all of our student data entered so that we've been able to have a successful start. And then finally, Betty Collins has really helped us in facilitating our NWEA testing. We did a benchmark here at the beginning of the year on first graders, which we always do, and we added kindergarten this year. So we doubled the number of students tested, and we did that smoothly and with her help. And so now we have an effective baseline for all of our kiddos. So there are countless more, I'm sure, that I could thank and that have contributed to our start. But I just apologize that I'm not able to share them all with you tonight. In efforts to create the most appropriate and supported learning environment for each of our students, we have opened a new section of kindergarten that was effective yesterday. Mrs. Megan Burns is our new teacher, and it's a really neat opportunity because she has been part of our Hornet Park family since the first day of school. She's been servicing individuals and small groups and classes of students from the start, so she already has that rapport and relationship with our kindergartners. So with a Meet the Teacher event last week and some phone calls and meet and greets, we've had a really smooth transition in adding that classroom. So, at Hornet Park, we really work to optimize instructional opportunities and moments. And adding this class gives us smaller class sizes where we can do that and give more individual and targeted academic attention to our students. So I'm just so proud that we as a district are supporting our students in that way. I wanted to thank everybody who had to move workspace or change their classroom here after school got started. It was a little bit of a shift, but it's really turned into a wonderful environment for our students and for our families as well. So I could go on, and you may think I already have, but I could go on about the strong and smooth start we've had to this school year. But I'm ready to do my fantastic finish. And the thing that makes it so fantastic is I get to speak about our student of the month, and that is Pascal Robinson. So Pascal, will you come join me, please? And I have some special things to say about Pascal. You come stand right here with me, honey. Pascal, his teacher is Mrs. Gegg. And this is what she had to say about him. Pascal has worked so hard to be a Hornet and show everyone that he deserves Student of the Month. I'm so happy that he achieved his goal. Every morning, Pascal comes in, and it's wonderful for my whole reading block. I can count on him to be listening and setting a good example. He is able to come in every morning ready to learn with bold capital letters, so that's a biggie. From Miss Shirley Folks over there. She says Pascal is the sweetest young man, and I said that because Pascal has matured with 3 O's, so much within the last 3 months. I am overjoyed with his growth thus far this year. Every time I visit his class, he has a smile so big to let me know I am doing well. I am so proud of this young man, Pascal. Words cannot express. Keep up the good work. And from myself, I'd like to say that Pascal has a special place in my heart. He has shown so much growth since last school year in regards to displaying positive behavior. Being Student of the Month is a significant accomplishment for him, and it's one that didn't come easily. But I think you would agree that sometimes the journeys in life that we are the most proudest of are the ones that are the most difficult to achieve. And so I'm very proud of him. When I see him in the hallway with his seatbelt, which is keeping your hands around to yourself, and his bubble, meaning he's being quietly, he's walking quietly. When I see him with that seatbelt and bubble, I'm so proud to see him setting a good example. He is the kid that other students are looking for as an example. So I said that my heart just melts a little bit when I see that with warm pride for Pascal. So I'm proud to present Pascal Robinson.
Mr. Beckler, Central Elementary School.
Good evening, everyone, and I just want to take a couple minutes to talk about 2 really important things that have gone on at Central. This is my 5th year as principal, and this has been the most successful start to a school year that I think we've had, and I kind of want to tie that together. Dr. Hammock and I did have a difficult day today, but overall, the last 26 days have been really, really amazing. Through our TAP cluster, which is our professional development, we've been focusing on Teach Twos. So our master teacher and our mentor teachers have been teaching the teachers how to teach the kids how to do procedures. We focused on beginning of the day, transitions, active listening. We worked with Mr. Saunders and the bus drivers on appropriate bus behavior. And so we have seen such a huge difference in the school because we're all talking the same talk. The students all have the same expectations. And whether it's the principal or the secretary or the bus drivers or the classroom teachers or the related arts teachers, we're all working together everywhere. We already have lessons in place for the playground, the cafeteria, the hallways, the restrooms, and we've added this extra layer on. It has made a huge difference. So much so, I feel like the second graders are about 4 weeks ahead of time. Usually it takes us 6 to 8 weeks to get into the groove of school. All of those new little second graders starting at Central, it's a big adjustment for Hornet Park, and it's just been amazing. So I really want to congratulate the students and the staff, and especially my TAP leadership team, which is Patty Turlop, Tierney Stevenson, Lisa LaFavors, and Beth Parsetich for the hard work that they've done. The other thing that I want to just update everybody on is, I don't think I've ever talked about our Central celebrations. The second Thursday of every month, which would be this Thursday, we do a Central celebration at 2 o'clock where we recognize all of our students of the month and all of our AR award winners and our artists of the month. So all of these students come up, they get prizes, certificates, recognition in front of the whole student body. At the end, everyone that's been recognized stands up, so it's really a nice visual for the students to see everyone that's been recognized or earned something for that month. This year, we're going to be adding to that. The teachers are passing out, well, actually every staff member will be passing out tickets to kids that are caught being good. We have 2 jars in the cafeteria. It's on a wheeled cart, so at the end of the central celebration, we wheel up the cart. We're going to pull out some student names. They're going to get 2 things, some sort of a prize, and then they're going to do a minute to win it type game with some of the staff members, so in front of all the other students. In addition, we're going to be pulling out a teacher's name from both jars, who they will be then recognized for recognized student achievement. So we're adding another layer to recognition to the students and the staff. Every student has a number at Central as well, and every afternoon I pull out 2 numbers and say, if you're number 76 and 276 and you've made good choices today and been a Smartie, then they come down at the end of the day and they get Smarties. So we're doing a lot to recognize the kids for being appropriate, which is a nice transition then to introduce my student of the month, which is Miss Rakaira Johnson. So I'm going to have Rakaira come up right now. I want to echo Mrs. Provost's sentiments. This has been a long road for Rakaira, and I'm so proud of her to be our student of the month. And I'm going to read some important comments that have come to me from many teachers in the building. Rakaira has started this year by showing a huge improvement in her behavior and attitude. I am pleased to share the following comments. Ms. McLean, who's her classroom teacher, said that Rakaira has shown growth socially and academically. She is always an active participant in the classroom, respectful to staff, and helpful to peers. It has been a pleasure to see Rakaira become a role model this school year. Mrs. LaFavors reports that Rakaira is much more laid back and accepting of others. She has a great smile and is enjoying her peers and is acting like a friend. Mrs. Sutton, our art teacher, is proud of the huge leaps and bounds Rakaira has made. She is wanting to help others and is becoming the leader that we knew she could be. It has been a great joy to see her using her positive attitude to become a role model for her peers. Mrs. Wiesjohn, our applied technology teacher, is proud of her improvements and the role of a positive leader that she has become. I am so very proud of Rakaira and the hard work that she has put in and that she has done to show her improvements. It's been a true pleasure to watch her grow and mature into an outstanding young lady at Central Elementary. I am pleased to present Rakaira Johnson as our August student of the day.
Ms. Reed, South Grove Intermediate School.
Good evening, everyone. South Grove is also off to a fabulous start. 640 students strong, which is about where we ended last year. We are really pushing attendance this year. We're trying for a 97% attendance rate. It has eluded us the last few years at 96.6, 96.4. So we're pushing for 97% attendance rate this year. We're tracking attendance daily with the Who's Here bulletin board down in the cafeteria. Each day we post the number of students that are absent and the number of homerooms with perfect attendance, so the kids can see if there are 23 students absent, even in a building of 640, that's a lot to us. So we're hoping the kids take notice of that and that they want to get their homeroom listed up there as one with perfect attendance. Our average absence per day has been about 16, which gives us about a 97.5% attendance rate thus far. So it's our goal to track attendance and work with parents and students to get them to school each and every day, because they're only going to learn if they're in school. So we also, just today, got installed a new computer system at the front desk that helps us track students coming in. Parents have to sign them in and when they take them out, so that's going to be helpful. We also use, I call it Alert Now, although it's not really called that anymore, message system. So if a parent doesn't call in their student as being absent, we send out a message to those parents, so we are finding out where they are each and every day. So we expect the parents to call us and let us know where their student is that day. So we're hoping with these things in place and with our persistence, we can absolutely improve our attendance rate. A couple of things to mark your calendars. Parent-teacher conferences are going to be held the week of October 8th through the 12th. Teachers are going to be sending home notices to parents within the next couple of weeks to try and get those scheduled. Of course, we want to meet with each and every parent, so we want parents to make that a priority to come in and meet with the teacher, and we're hoping for students to be leading the conferences. Also mark your calendars. Family Academic Night is October 4th, beginning at 6 o'clock. We are combining our math night and our literacy night into one academic fun-filled evening for parents and students. We'll have free books, free flashcards, door prizes, snacks, all the good stuff. Information will be coming home with students here soon as well. So, but I would like to introduce Anna Karen Ramirez, South Grove Student of the Month. This is Anna Karen. Mrs. Alcar, our music teacher, says that Anna Karen is one of those students who is reliable, respectful, and certainly a pleasure to have in class. She is a go-to student if help is needed, especially with technology. Anna Karen is one of 2 lead geeks, and you've heard me say that before. That is actually a term of endearment at South Grove this school year, and has gone above and beyond what is required. She helps Mrs. Collinsworth getting technology to the classrooms that need it. Anna Karen is willing to help anyone and is a leader both in and out of the classroom. Mrs. McCarthy says that Anna is wonderful. She never has a missing assignment and comes in every day with a positive attitude and a caring heart. She is eager to help her peers in any way she can. Mrs. Denton, Anna Karen's 4th grade teacher, says that she was a true joy to teach. She always appreciated how kind she was to her classmates and how hard she worked. And I think this is very special. Anna has a great family that has helped shape her into the beautiful person that she is today. Anna Karen.
Well, Beech Grove High School's had a great start also. We have 819 students. Construction project, performance services did a great job of getting us ready to get in our 2 labs. First day of school, and the project's going on schedule out here with the new addition. We have one of the most important things I'd like to share with you today is Kelly Skiller, who's the coordinator of Hornet Richmond Academy, which is a new program. It's down by off the section of the bank. It's been a great program, and we started this August 1st, really, as far as putting everything together. And she's got a great staff. There's about 32 plus students that are there right now. We have 8 of them that are going to school full time. They're there all day. But they've been doing all kinds of things. They've had a lot of volunteer hours of community service already, about 73 hours worth. They've been working with Mrs. Progress's permission. They've been working in Hornet Park. We have 5 students that are there every day, and then there's several that come over several times a week. And we even have some students, I think 4 students that rides buses home with Hornet Park students at the evening to help supervision the students. And so they've just done a lot. We just started our first project-based learning. Well, really the second one. The first one was they put together all the tables in the Hornet Richmond Academy, and they got in groups and went through all the instructions and figured out how to put them all together and created those. But we just had a partnership with Beech Grove Parks Department. We're going to clean out the woods that is adjacent to our building and is in between us and Hornet Park. Matter of fact, today is when the city started going out and cleaning and moving logs and stuff out of there. Our students are then going to go in and work in those areas with building benches, refurnishing those benches, and there's some picnic tables in there, picking up all the trash. And then the mulch, we're going to try to mulch all the way back to the bridge, if anybody knows what I'm talking about, and then eventually create the path all the way to Hornet Park. And so the students will be able to come out and look at those dinosaur feet that are out there. But it's the beginning of our PBLA, project-based learning activities, and the students are doing a great job. So if you ever have an opportunity, stop in down there. Kelly and the staff is doing a great job. Parent-teacher conferences for us is Tuesday and Wednesday, September 18th and 19th. They're from 3 to 6:30, so parents, please contact the teachers or email them to set up appointments to come in. One of the most important things, too, is our C9 students. One of our C9 students, Robert Summit, was selected as Student of the Month for the drafting and CAD project down there. And his teacher said, Robert is determined to improve his skills this year and to help present information to visitors during our recent open house. and that's from Mr. Boner. And he really is impressed with what Robert's doing down there. At Beech Grove High School, our ECA testing, we came back, found out our class of 2014, our sophomores, we had 57 students that scored in the top quartile of the state of Indiana in either both English 10 or Algebra 1 in their ECA, and that's higher than last year. We had 37 students in the class of 2013, so Mr. Clevenger and I are really pleased with that. Homecoming, a couple dates. Homecoming is coming up this Friday. Students are building floats tonight and all this week. There's a dance afterwards, so if you'd like to stay for the dance, you're welcome. That's from after the football game until 11:30. We have a Veterans Appreciation Night, which is going to be on the 28th, and this little flyer is on our website now. Melanie Stevens has been involved with that, along with Joe Wolfla, to bring in veterans, and we'll be putting a lot more information out about that. We want to celebrate and appreciate all the veterans and our armed services during that football game, which will be again on Friday the 28th. That night, we're also recognizing the middle school football teams, and we have a cheer camp going on, clinic going on that same weekend or that same week, and they're going to be doing the cheer then as well. So there's a lot going on that night. But tonight, and the real reason why we're here, and I'm really proud of, is our student of the month. So, and that's Haley Boer. Come on up, Haley. Haley's a senior. She's the daughter of Ron and Rebecca Boer. She ranks 10th in her class, has a 3.7 GPA. She's undecided on what college or university she's going to, but she's going to get into pre-med as the course of study. And I'm really honored to recognize Haley. As I read through her achievements and the things that she's done, you're going to know why she's so important to Beech Grove High School. She serves on in program boards of United Way, Central Indiana, Special Olympics, School Community Council, USTA Junior Team Tennis League, District Strategic Planning Committee. She's been doing that all last spring. She volunteers at numerous Special Olympic programs up and down wheelchair tennis, ITC Ball Kid, Breakfast for Santa. Her achievement, she's been on the high honor roll, top 10 Scholar Athlete of the Month, just yesterday, received that. Soccer, team captain, tennis most MVP. She's the founder of the Beech Grove Recycling Program, which is great. She came to me this summer and said, I want to do this. I said, go for it. And she's really been doing it ever since she's been here. All last year, she would pick up recycling, but she created the club. She's an I Dare You Award winner, Leadership Council of the Beech Grove High School chapter of the National Honor Society, Spanish Honor Society, Spanish Club President, International Club Vice President. She's the class secretary, so she keeps pretty busy. She also is involved with the soccer team, wrestlerettes, tennis team, Spanish club, and international club, Hornet Mentors, and student council. So I don't think there's probably any program we have at Beech Grove that Haley hasn't touched and been involved in since she came 4 years ago. One of the faculty members, Mr. Bush, says she's a very respected young woman with high academic achievements. She is very involved with the school throughout Hornet Mentors, Recycling Club, varsity tennis, and varsity soccer. She shows great leadership in and outside of school, and she's the captain of her sports teams and president of the Hornet Recycling Club. And as, again, he mentioned, she came back all last spring and picked up recycling at all the rooms. I think Haley is one of the most deserving students we could have for the Student of the Month Award at Beech Grove High School. Again, I present to you Haley Boer.
Okay, everybody, Mr. Collins, we need a curriculum update.
Okay. Wanted to be aware of one of our big federal grants, which is called Title I, and you can see the amounts there. That's based on the census, and the more poverty there is, the more money you get. We also have to rank the schools, and the two schools that are entitled more to the money would be Central and Hornet Park. Money goes to those schools. There also what's called school-wide. That means everyone in the school is eligible for services. This gives you an idea of all the teachers that are funded through this. And also I wanted to point out to you that Holy Name receives some funds. Funds come to us, but then we pass it on to Holy Name, so they are part of the project. Again, it goes for remediation, trying to bring the students to a higher level as much as possible. The next thing I want to talk a little bit about is our TAP and what happened this summer. We have continuous training of the people who are involved in TAP. This summer, it was a 2-day, all-day training. All the master teachers, all the mentor teachers, and all the administrators went to this for this training. What they added was what's called an IGP, which is an individual growth plan. This is teachers' growth plan. So you'll see that each teacher will be developing this year a plan in order to get growth, and it's usually based on student growth, trying to get the highest achievement possible from the students. Also, every teacher is evaluated 4 times. This is different than the RISE program, right? It's usually about 2 times. That's because we have master and mentor teachers who also do observations where RISE is not. So each teacher has had, this last year, has had 4 observations. They kind of average those together. They look at student growth, and they come up with a formula, and the teacher will be getting bonuses right before Christmas time based on their scores and their students' achievement. Also, everyone who evaluates the teachers has to pass a certification test. It's an online test. They tell us to put about 3 hours. Mine was about 2.5 hours. And you have to pass that in order to evaluate teachers. This is probably the first time that I've been involved in a program where you are actually trained to do evaluations. Usually you're just given a checklist and they do it. So quite extensive, and all the master, all the mentors, and all the administrators had to be certified. So I think that's kind of a neat part of the program. So I wanted you to be aware of it. 2 other things I mentioned here just to keep you on top of things. IGPs, individual growth plans. So people talk about that, you know what that is. A TLT is a TAP leadership team. They meet once a week. Those are your master teachers, your mentor teachers, your administrators, and they are planning for the next cluster group. Cluster group is another TAP word for the meetings they have once a week for the professional development. So if you see TLT, that's the planning meetings with administrators, master, and mentor teachers. The other thing I wanted to mention to you, we were supposed to have a visitation at Central of one of our congressmen, because this is a TIF grant, which means it's federally funded. It's quite a big grant. Because of problems, personal problems, he was not able to come. Mr. Buckler, are they rescheduling?
27.
The 27th.
This month.
Because this is a big deal, we knew about that day that he wasn't coming. So some of us went over, became the audience. So Patty Turlip, who is the master teacher, she did an excellent job, and we're kind of excited. But it puts you on the spot to do 2 of these. And he's going to visit cluster, visit the classroom, talk to the teachers, and all that kind of thing. So it's kind of an honor to have a congressman who represents us in Washington, D.C. to come to our school. Also, the iRead program was new. This was a new law that said kids had to pass a test at 3rd grade level in reading in order to go to the next grade. There were some waiver ideas. One was if you had an IEP, that means that you had a meeting with the parent and the child was eligible for special training through that program. You could get a waiver. That's about the only waivers unless you've been retained, I don't think several times. After we took out all of the IEP kids, we had about 9 kids who did not pass. If you don't pass the iRead program, then you can go to summer remediation and then take the test again. So we have those kids in summer remediation. We also had some of our kids who had waivers go through it too. We ended up with 6 kids coming to remediation, and we had 6, I think we had 9 that came to remediation. 3 still did not pass. The 6 did pass. Well, basically, we had 3 kids who this applied to. If you take out all the IEP kids, that's not too shabby.
So what happens with the 3 that didn't pass?
They didn't. Well, they
They were retained.
But I think if Mr. Buckler, you kind of thought that along, and you were not, on those 3 kids that,
Yes, they were already retention candidates.
so it was not a
So it
surprise.
wasn't a surprise.
No, and I met with all of their parents in May to talk about what the plan was.
So that kind of gives you an update of what the, because this law was kind of really a lot of publicity on it, and how it kind of affected us. The kids who did get waivers, I think they were 16, you know, of course, because they had a case conference and all that, they had a waiver and they were placed, but they're in a specialized program. The last thing I just wanted to mention to you is we haven't talked too much about Sept scores, and that's the test, state test in grades 3 through 8. They don't have to pass it, but our schools are kind of evaluated on how well they did. So I want to give you an update of what that looks like. So what I did is I gave you the percent who passed in the language arts and the math, and then also the ranking in Marion County. I don't go outside of Marion County because socially, economically, we just don't match up. So these are the 11 school districts in Marion County. So out of 11, this is how we placed. I then kind of highlighted some of the really strong areas. First of all, we're getting close to all of our grades being 80% or better, really close. You notice that in Central and Math, we were second in the county. You notice in 4th grade language arts, we were first in the county. And in 6th grade language arts, we were second. So those are really high out of 11 school districts. We're a solid third, almost every place else. I do want you to look at, because we have at 7th and 8th grade some high 70 scores, but I think those tests are on the hard side. So even though we're not in the 80s, you'll see we're a solid third in the county on those too. So that's kind of misleading, and you know, why aren't they in the 80s?
Can I ask you a question while you're talking? I hate to ruin your train of thought. Is it normal for 5th grade to sometimes go a little down a little?
A lot depends on a class as they go through. Sometimes you'll find kids in a class that kind of go down lower, and we just try to get them to go up higher and higher and higher. The 5th grade was the 5th grade language arts is the one we're really working on. Tanya, did you want to mention anything about the 5th grade?
We are looking, we are trying to figure out what happened. I mean, we have a high number of special ed kids in that class, but we have a high number in all 3 grades. So, I mean, we're really working with the teachers to figure out what the drop was. I know that there was good teaching going on there last year. I was in those classrooms a lot. I have an excellent 5th grade staff, but we are trying to figure out what happened. And remedy that.
Exactly where we're really concentrating on with our TAP study and all of our different data and our pre and post testing. This is the school that gave us the 90%, so I don't think it's the teaching going on. I think there's something, we just got to figure out how we can reach those.
I just thought maybe it had to do with the grade, the age.
No, generally they go up. It's usually generally there's a drop when they get to the middle school when they change buildings.
Yeah.
5th grade should be strong because they will have been there 2 years. So we're not sure what happened. They did test online this year. I almost wish they could have tested paper and pencil just to kind of do an apples to apples comparison, pre-tap. But we did test online. I don't know if they rushed through or, I'm not sure. It's, that, as Dr. Kaiser always says, no excuses. No excuses. We have who we have, and we're going to make it work. So I'm looking for growth this year.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, I have another question. Who's outranking us? Which 1 and 2?
Okay. The school district that has the highest social economic, which I will admit, people are in testing, the best indicator is kids from wealthy families do better on the test. So the school district who by far has the highest social economic status is Franklin County. So they were ahead of us. And then Speedway, who's a little smaller than we are, and I do think size has something to do with it. The smaller you are, the more you can work with the kids and kind of get a feeling. Speedway is the other one, so Speedway and Franklin. I understand Franklin. Speedway, I think is have a very good school district, and we're third. We have a good district too. So, and sometimes you'll notice we're first and second. Sometimes we beat them.
I'd just like to know.
I'd like to make a couple comments about the data. It's really important. First of all, the research shows very strongly as you accelerate the grade level, you normally drop. And we're pretty consistent. Again, my accolades to all the buildings. The middle school did a great job bouncing back into the third place across the board. And we hired Rita Bass last January. And Rita splits between South Grove and the middle school. Rita is an expert on teaching literacy. And the strides and the things that our middle school teachers are doing with common assessments across the board, those scores are going to go up. Rita's like having a Kit Collins in the building every day working on curriculum. And I will give her a lot of accolades on what the South Grove scores has been. And, she's one of those real elite teachers that take off. So traditionally, you're going to see your scores really high in third grade and they gradually go down. We stay pretty consistently. And we have always been the top 1, 2, 3 in Marion County. And as you look around the county, I'm pretty proud of that. Franklin Township, they do a good job. Speedway, Ken Hall and I, their superintendent, we always talk about, we'll jockey back and forth between 1, 2, and 3 on the categories. But I think a key thing, and Ken, if you don't mind, for the next meeting, let's create a chart that shows how the kids progress from 4th grade to 5th grade, from 3rd grade to 4th grade, because that's the real key factor. When you look at data like this is kind of, we call it lagging data. It's ISTEP data, it's really good, but the important thing is the common assessments we're doing every day. But if we really want to show growth, we need to take this year's 4th graders and then how they do last year's 3rd grade. This year's 5th graders, how they do last year in 4th grade, because that'll show the growth of those kids from one year to the next. So I think we can put that data together pretty easily. Kids updating. And Kit can put it in this packet, but I think that's what we have to look at. Our goal is to get our kids to 90%, but 80% is pretty darn good across Marion County, Central Indiana. And at most grade levels, we're at or above the state average. And so we'll bring some more data to you. It's not just about ISTEP, but ISTEP is a really good snapshot of how we did at this point in time. And one of the things that we're working on is our district scorecard, which has a lot of different data. And across the board, the A through F letter grades were supposed to come out Monday. They've delayed it. We don't know when that's going to come out. When you see that date, I don't know where we're going to be. Don't panic. I was very honest politically. I probably shouldn't say this, but the Department of Ed doesn't really, I want to be very careful, that when they talk about A through F, they say it's transparency by complexity. We have asked the Department of Ed to explain the A through F grading system. You talk to 4 different people, you get 4 different answers. So when those come out, maybe later this week or next week, don't panic, don't overjoy if we're an A, because again, we can't get the Department of Ed to tell us how to figure this. We've asked for their formulas, and so you just have to be careful with test scores. Our test scores are really good, they're rock solid. We're very proud of them. Our goal is to get to 90. We're going to smile when we get in the 80s in all grade levels, and I'm confident we're going to be there because we're all for darn close. And like I said, I really see those 70s coming up at the 80-degree mark because they've been there before. And I think TAP and plus a great thank you to our building principals and their leadership. They do a great job in what they do. And it's about teacher literacy. And if we can teach literacy, our math scores are going to go up also. But that's just my general comment on test scores. They're important, but we also have to get to all the other great things we do to get a complete picture of it. So that's probably longer than I intended on saying, but...
Well, next time I had everything at once, so maybe I'll bring out a little bit each time so you can get an idea. Well, what was nice is we did have overall a 3% increase.
And Ken, I think that'll be good to show the grade level and the point total percentage increase. Yeah. That'll show a real improvement across the board.
Yes, absolutely. My update, I sort of chose to go in a different route instead of sort of go back at the sort of last month since the last time that we got together. I wanted to sort of give you a vision for something that we're really looking forward to. The Department of Education, U.S. Department of Education, so we're not just talking about Indiana here, has put out a really enticing and exciting grant opportunity for school districts. You might be remembering the Race to the Top grant application that was conducted for states. So our Indiana State Department of Education applied to be a state for Race to the Top funding. I'm sure it was a wonderful grant application. They did not consult me on it, so unfortunately it was not accepted by the feds for Indiana. But now the feds have put out an incredible grant opportunity for school districts to apply, and a school district our size is able to apply for between $5 and $10 million that would be awarded over a period of 4 years. I know it gives me total goosebumps. We are absolutely intending to apply for this grant. It is a bear of a grant, as I'm sure you can imagine. But we're so excited about it because this particular proposal is one that is not looking to fund sort of new programming. What they're wanting to do is to really invest in a school district that shows sort of foundational pieces right now. So foundational pieces in the area of teacher evaluation. Well, we have that with TAP. Foundations in the area of career and college readiness, and we feel really good about what we're doing with our academies and our movement towards that at the high school level. A foundation of data tracking system. We're lucky in the state of Indiana because we actually track our students already as far as student to teacher. That's actually significantly under the direction of Mr. Collins. So there are these elements that are already in place here in the school district, but we feel like with some extra funding to the tune of $5 to $10 million, we could be able to really take what we already have and maximize it. And it kind of got me thinking to where we, potentially could secure that number 1 or number 2 spot. Innovative programming. We have a lot of ideas at this stage of the game. We're actually organizing a district-wide committee to kind of work on this initiative. It's a grant that's big enough that one person just can't do it alone. It's something that we all have to sort of work together on. But ultimately, we will submit a grant for this particular opportunity. We will see that there are going to be an awarding sort of number of 10 to 14 school districts that are going to be awarded for this. I had a little bit of a bummer of a day when Dr. Kaiser told us that over 800 districts have declared an intention to apply. But why can't we be one of those 800? And I feel like we have a really strong story to tell. I feel like we are just perfectly sort of poised to be awarded and excited to kind of get it going. From kind of now until October 30th when the sucker is due, that's really...
October 30th. That's wow.
Yes, we don't have much time. And actually, this is new. This is what they do to you with grants. They tell you about it and then they're due. So you really don't have that much time to sort of get all your, we could approach this as a dissertation, sort of take an awful lot of time, to put it together. But I think they kind of intentionally don't do that so that you can sort of make
Some
it.
of the basis is still the same.
Absolutely, it's a federal grant, so a lot of the components are in fact, we'll probably copy and paste some pieces from other grants where we've been successful and try to sort of sort it out that way. It's going to be a lot of work, but we're excited about it, and this will be a couple 100-page document that we ultimately submit, and it'll be powerful. And even if we don't get it, which I really don't even want to think about that, it will be a learning experience because they're going to provide us with feedback. So if there's another opportunity, we'll learn from it, and it won't be wasted time.
Great reason to have a balanced calendar, too.
Absolutely. Everything's working, like we're the perfect storm. Exciting.
That time.
This is really a big deal because
Yeah.
usually get states to apply for this. This is a school district going to apply for this huge state grant. So even if we don't get it, the amount of work that's going to go into this is just tremendous. And I'm just, Laura likes to do, I said, you sure you like to do this? She says, I like to do this. But
I love it.
It's going to be amazing. And even if we don't get it, we can use what's in it for other things too.
So when you submit this, then when do they tell you that you were awarded?
Christmas. Yeah, we are present. Yeah. I can't wait to start shopping. Yeah, right around, truly, at the end of December, that's when we'll yeah.
Well, to give you a little bit of it, one of the things, Laura and I spent a lot of time talking about
Yeah.
this. There's actually a webinar tomorrow on the budget part. I think the question and answer aspect that you're going to have is 32 pages.
Yeah, just frequently asked questions.
Yeah, she's been reading through, but our focus is going to be on early literacy. You know, early literacy. If we're going to make a difference, if you want to see these test scores get to the 90, we've got to get the kids the moment that mom and dad are willing to let us borrow them in an early preschool scenario. And what's good about the grant, there's also construction dollars. Because obviously we don't have the money to build, I've been joking after the science edition, we don't have the money to build an outhouse, let alone another building or even fix some of the other things because things are going to be really tight in the future. So our focus on this is going to be evaluation, early childhood, and trying to get those kids at 6 months or even 3 months, but definitely by age 1. And so we've had some meetings. I met with the YMCA, their president from Central Indiana. Actually, they're coming to tour Beech Grove October 5th-ish, I think. And so we're going to try and work. We talked to the YMCA about this and have them hopefully co-support us on the grant as we move forward and see if we can't get some in-kind contributions and other contributions from outside sources trying to get in. And also since Andrew Carson's going to be here, so maybe we'll put a plug in with him and try to get some nice letters of recommendation for it. But we really see this being a community grant, not just the school corporation as we move forward. So, and it'll set a blueprint for, you know, maybe not this time, but next time. So, well, if you like to, we'll give you some abstracts along the way so you can see the process.
Thank you.
Melody, our community relations. Yes, and education foundation. Yes. A couple things. Tim Ressler and I continue to work on the website, which is a work in progress. It probably always will be a work in progress because that's kind of what goes along with the website. But we are working with 5-Star. We want to get that completely redone, but we're working on that. So it's going to be something good, and we just want to make sure that the information gets out to our public, to our community, as much as possible, and be wide open about things. The website can get pretty crowded because there are so many wonderful things happening in this school corporation that sometimes it does get overwhelming, the amount of information that we have to send out. But we want to make sure everybody sees that, and it's also such a great tool to recognize our students, our teachers, you know, everybody that's involved in the school corporation. It gives them the recognition that they deserve for all the good things that are happening here. So that's a work in progress. Told you a little bit about Bruce Kopp was here from Channel 13. He did Cool in School, and I hope you saw that segment. It aired on August 28th, and then I didn't even know it was going to be rerun, but on a Sunday morning on September 2nd, I was watching Channel 13, and lo and behold, they played it again for Cool in School for Beech Grove, so it was really neat. So we were on there at least twice that people saw us about Cool in School. And Dr. Kaiser was on that presentation. Chris Kaufman was there, a couple of our students. So it was a really good, upbeat segment on some of the good things happening. Then this, as we had mentioned earlier, we're going to be at the Fall Festival this week. We'll be there on Friday evening and all day on noon to 10 on Saturday. The Education Foundation and the School Corporation are sharing a booth. And so we'll be there to talk about all the good things for the foundation and for the school corporation. And of course, thanks to Robin and Colleen Bogert and Brian Tom Michael that they put together all that wonderful spirit wear. And wait till our community sees it because it is awesome things, awesome. And I think that we'll probably be sold out, which Brian is hoping for. And it's going to be a really great thing. So come on out, Beech Grove community, and buy your spirit wear and show that you're a proud Hornet because it's some really wonderful things. The Beech Grove page will appear tomorrow in Southsider Voice. So watch for that because there's a lot of good stories that will be there. Again, talking about the great things happening at the school district. There'll be some more things happening with Southside Times, but the Southsider Voice, as you know, every month gives us pretty much an entire page.
There's a Kaiser comments that Paul writes for the paper that talks about something, and this month it's on HEA, so the Richmond Academy, and talks about that, and should hopefully have a photo there, some photos of the HEA with Kelly Skillner too. As for the foundation, if you are missing the Beech Grove Education website, it's because right now it is temporarily down. We actually had it unfortunately hacked from out of the country, believe it or not. We had some Russian stuff going on. Anyway, we had to take it down, but that's just temporary, and I'm meeting with a new website person next week for that site, because as you remember, the grant that we received in April, well actually we received it in June, it was written in April, covers some of the costs for this new website. So watch for it to go live as soon as we can get that up, and we'll try to do that very quickly. And then we're still building our board for the Education Foundation. Several people, we've had different kinds of names submitted, and so I'll be meeting with them and then presenting them to the board to do that. And I think, as I told you last month too, Tim Luttrell's our new school board rep, and he was at our first meeting, and we were really happy to have him, and he fit right in with our group. So it was really a good evening. So I'm brief tonight because I have to tell you, my dad, who lives here in Beech Grove, told me that last school board meeting that I talked too much. So I told him I would try to keep it a little bit briefer this time. But I said, when there's so many great things happening in Beech Grove City Schools, you cannot just have it a brief presentation. So
There's always a critic.
that's right, always. So Dad, I cut a little short. That's it.
Maybe we need to talk a little faster too, to make him happy.
Please do.
We need to approve minutes from our last meeting. Could I get a motion to approve those? Beth?
Second.
Judy, all in favor? Opposed? Okay, and then, has everybody looked at the claims? Anybody have any questions regarding the claims?
$900-something for flags in Walmart. So there's something on there for flags from Walmart for $900.
It's not Walmart. It was US Supply or something of the same.
Flags
Well, I
are
was
expensive.
looking at it like this.
Oh, those flags are expensive.
We can check. They're already purchased, we can't.
Yeah, I'm
We
just
can
saying,
check it.
there's other places, I mean, and you can get stronger, 3 to 5 strong flags, because that's what you're finding
Yeah.
for less.
Are we, okay.
What was the response?
Just put that.
Could I get a motion to approve those claims?
Motion to approve?
Rick, second? I'll second. Tim, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Dr. Keeley, business update.
Good. For the first part of this school year, as always, right around August, September time, I put in the newspaper, and I don't know if you saw the last couple of Fridays, I did put a notice to taxpayers for a public hearing on approval of the budget. And so it was a very long process. It's very well scripted by the Department of Education, State Board of Accounts, Department of Local Government Finance, and the Marion County Auditor's Office, that tells our corporation exactly the steps that are necessary for the taxpayers to be notified, have an opportunity to ask questions. We consider those questions, and the month of September and today, in the newspaper last 2 Fridays, it said that today we would consider that feedback, and today would be the public hearing. So today, September 11th, is the public hearing, and then October 9th, the information that I present, the documentation, there's 30 days, approximately 30 days here, and everybody has also been notified that they can come to the school board meeting October 9th, 6 p.m. to consider your vote and approval. But tonight is a good opportunity for me just to answer questions, go through the forms. It's a very detailed process, it's a very lengthy process, and a difficult part for 2012, for the 2013 budget, was the Department of Local Government Finance is now moving into a digital time. So they have a system on a website called Gateway. And I had to start in May when Gateway opened. I learned all about it for the last year. I started in May, I logged in, Brian, Tom, and Michael and I, we worked on there and we had to build the entire budget for this year electronically. But I also have to submit the entire budget by paper as well for this year. So I have to do double duty, and I have done that. And I'm completely done, and I have all the information. So what I have for you are 2 documents that I'm going to cover and talk about, and I put it in your Dropbox folder as well, under the business report. The budget hearing has a PowerPoint, which is just basically copies of the paperwork, the paper portions of the notice to taxpayers, and then the setting of the tax rate, so maximum amounts of appropriation and levy, and we've talked about those terms, and I'll explain those a little bit as I go through that. Another page is the CPF plan, which is Capital Projects Fund Plan, and I'll remind you the Capital Projects Plan, or the Capital Projects Fund, is our 3-year plan of what we're doing and what we're going to do with our facilities. But it's also energy, maintenance. What I mean by energy are bills. We pay the HVAC, the water bill, the sewer bill. All those things come out of CPF. It is also technology expenses, buildings and grounds. So when we go to mow, a lot of that equipment comes from that fund. And as a reminder, just to tell you the times that we're living in, 4 years ago when I started in this business, in the business role, our tax levy for the CPF was $2.2 million. Today, after the circuit breaker, our levy is $900,000, so that's well less than half. And then I only net $650,000, which is approximately 1/4 of what we used to get just 4 years ago. And you probably are sitting there thinking, well, why in the world is that? Why would we go to 1/4 of the dollars that we used to have? And that is because the tax caps happened, which is a great thing for the taxpayer, but it resituated my dollars to be able to support all the programming and everything we do. And so $2.2 million went down to $650,000 net revenue. And I am, again, the sewer bill, all those other buildings and grounds, but also technology expenses have to come out of there. And I'm really stressed every day with that bottom dollar because it's really hard to support. And just to give you an idea, where have those transferred? We have the same services, really, technology and everything going on. We're trying to hold on to our level of what we do because it's very, very positive for our students. And so those dollars have really translated over to the referendum fund. The referendum fund is 35 cents that was approved 3 years ago, and I have $1.4 million in the referendum fund. I get $650,000. I add those two together, and I'm back to the $2 million. Okay? It's pieces of the pie and pieces of the puzzle just resituate. And I only give you this history because I think you really need to know, was the referendum important? Well, the referendum doesn't just go for capital projects. It supports half of our transportation department currently. I ran out of transportation dollars this month, the month of September. Today the buses would stop. But they don't. I have money to pay bus drivers, I have money to put fuel in the buses, and I have money to purchase the smaller white transport buses, and we rethought the way we do that. And the way I pay for our bus drivers from today forward is strictly out of the referendum fund. And so I just wanted to give you the pieces of the pie so that you kind of better understood. We're not in incredible dire straits, but we certainly we don't have any cash balances at the end of the year. And I'm going to kind of repeat that as I go through this budget hearing process. So the PowerPoint that I presented to you in the Dropbox is up here on the screen. And so Form 3, and I'll show you this in Gateway, as well as this little piece here. I only have 3 pages for you here. This is the notice to taxpayers that went out. The same exact notice was in the newspaper, Indianapolis Star, and then the Corton Commercial last Friday, and then the week previous to that Friday. And it says here 9/11 today is the budget hearing. The adoption meeting date will be 10/9. Today's really the day to voice questions, so this is really a great opportunity. So at this time, do we want to have a motion to open a hearing?
I believe we usually raise it.
Dr. Kidd, can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
Going back to the income, the tip area where Lowe's now sits is going to expire within probably the next year, I think.
Okay.
Will that area, I'm sure it will be imposed a TIF area again. Will that assessed value be locked in as it has been for the past 7 years? I think 7 years. Or will it be reassessed anew for the next 7 years?
Yeah, and that is up to that board. That is up to the redevelopment commission for Beech Grove City. And the Beech Grove City and the redevelopment commission has the opportunity to make a motion to re-tip those dollars, to keep that organization there. Because many times Lowe's, for a community like ours, is a really nice asset, and it brings people and says, you know, there's convenience here. We have a Walmart, we have a Lowe's, we have these good services. That keeps people because of the convenience, right? So they want to live in our apartments, they want to live in our residential areas because of the convenience of the area. So that is a question that as I look at our budgets and our dollars, I assume a low assessed valuation. I'm just going to assume 300 million. It wasn't very long ago that we were at 420, 500 million. We're at 300 and some million now. That's not something we have any control over. That is going to be the redevelopment.
I just didn't know if there was, with all the laws and everything else, with everything with the tax circuit breaker, I didn't know if there was something that says by law it has to be reassessed and new assessment, and
Yeah, it's very complex. It's a very complex. TIF, in its very nature, is a very detailed opportunity for cities and towns to bring business here, to prosper and do well. And it's not a bad concept because it brings people and conveniences here. The laws that I do know that have changed are the length of time. They've bottled them up into 12 and 10 years versus allowing a TIF district to go 25 years. Why would you bring a brand new business to get off their feet and give them 25 years to do it? That's what the old law was. It's my understanding now the redevelopment commission can minimize that amount of time. So if you're going to bring in a new business, and I'm not saying Lowe's is a new business, but when you break ground and you build big time stores like that, you need a little bit of time to get your profit margin, to get profits. Maybe Lowe's has gotten there, maybe they haven't. But the redevelopment commission is really who assumes that responsibility. I, for the school corporation, keep my eye on that and understand that if there are extra dollars from those TIF revenues that aren't afforded and they're brought to the city, we can get a share of that. And I think it's just up to their redevelopment commission to really talk to the city and to the taxpayers and to feel comfortable on whether they put them for 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, or 15. So yeah, they've limited those, but by no means has it really, it's still a major component of financing the city.
I think one of the things that we have to look into, we've got a great relationship with Mayor, our Mayor Buckley, and we need to get a little bit more involved in that, finding what's going on. For example, they tore down the White Castle, and they're building a new White Castle. I honestly don't know, is that going to be TIF'd, how that works? I know when the Burger King was torn down and they rebuilt it, that was TIF'd. So we use the gentleman named Bill Sheldrick. He's a political analyst organization. He's going to be coming in the next month or so to talk about assessed valuation. That's a topic we need to have with him. We need to make our voice heard. I mean, we support the redevelopment group, but we can't lose any more dollars. Speedway, for example, the redevelopment committee at Speedway gives money to Speedway schools to make up for some of the losses they've had. And the same thing takes place in other communities where they collect the dollars, but then they also have the ability to give it back to the school. We just got some information the other day. We're going to lose $70,000 if the Marion County City Council adopts a new process related to the COID, the County Option Income Tax. The library will gain, the city will gain, and the school will lose $70,000. And I had to, actually Frank Mascarian we had a great conversation about that 2 days ago. Frank had no idea that we were going to lose money. He thought the city and the library were going to get money out of it. And in all honesty, it's the Marion County schools that lose over $9 million if the Marion County City Council passes the new law related to the co-op.
The other question I have is about St. Francis, now that they have moved out of the facility. Are we making sure, are we going to call somebody to make sure that they turn their paperwork in, that they are tax exempt so that we don't lose out on that money?
We did that this year. In fact, I learned a new process and it's not my job necessarily to watch the Department of Local Government Finance or the Marion County Auditor, but I reviewed the tax bills prior to going out in March to make sure that the tax bills had those dollars, including the referendum fund and others. The referendum should not be affected by the circuit breaker. So when the bills went out in March, or they were prepared, we got a copy of that transcript prior to the bills being sent out to make sure that the bills that went out had the appropriate dollar amount. Last year we got hampered because they didn't catch it. The Marion County Auditor didn't catch it until July. Then the second half of the bills were extremely low, and we lost approximately $400,000 because of that problem. But that was three different areas. So it's not necessarily our job, but we now have a better.
It's sad that we have to look at that, but it's awesome that you're paying attention to that. I appreciate that.
Well, it was important because I got a phone call about 5 weeks ago, and somebody said, "No, this is your auditor's certificate, and for your school system." And I about went out of the roof, and I said, "Your certificate is wrong. I looked at the bills in March. You're wrong." We sent it back to them. I wrote this whole dissertation to them, and I said, "This is crazy." Well, they ended up revising and giving us back probably $600,000. If we wouldn't have paid attention, watched it, and saw the bills in March, that would have been a very difficult August and a very difficult conversation for me today to stand in front of you and tell you, "Oh, somebody made a mistake again. We lost over $500,000. But we stood our ground, and they redid our certificate. And I think that we shed a little bit of light that a number of Marion County districts actually ended up getting an auditor's certificate that was revised after 3 weeks of them looking through those. So we have some really good friends out there in Marion County right now that are very nice to us because they know we do pay attention. So actually right now we're kind of favorable to them because we've kind of kept them on their toes, and they've kind of informed us along the way as well. So we have a really good working relationship right now. I just hope those players stay in place. And one of them, as Dr. Kaiser mentioned, is Bill Sheldrake. He is with a group that actually sets the tax codes for all of Marion County. So he does a nice job of that, and we actually work directly with him. So it's tough business. There's no doubt it's tough business. So. This is a really complex, even though the notice to taxpayers went out in the newspaper, it's a very complex document. It's not very big, but there's a lot going on here that produced these categories. There are 5 categories across it. It's the fund names. I've talked about it before. Rainy day, a referendum fund, rainy day general, debt service. Pension debt is a bill we have to pay. CPF, capital projects, which is what I mentioned earlier, transportation and bus replacement. This is my budget estimate for 2013. I'm just going to tell you right now, I shoot high, because if you don't ask to be able to spend enough, then you're never going to get any more than you ask for. They have the authority at the local government finance to tell me, "Nice try, but really you're going to spend this much." And I'm good with that. And again, I have a good working relationship, so I'm not out of whack. They know I shoot right here, and I know it's going to be reduced by about 20 to 25%, and that's okay. Because the next one is the maximum estimated funds to be raised, and that's basically the tax rate. That dollar is what I asked for, and so I'll use referendum as an example. 1.7 million. It's never going to be that, but I have a moving target with the AV that I mentioned earlier. It's guaranteed to be 35% or 35 cents, because that's what the taxpayer voted for, period. 35 cents produces X number of dollars. I know that. They know that. They take 35 cents times whatever the AV is established, and that is not certified yet. So I don't even know what the AV is. So I asked for a little bit more, and I know that 35 cents will probably produce around $1.3 million, because that's what our current tax levy is. But don't be afraid, I'm not raising the tax rate. It's always going to be 35 cents, period. So I'm not playing games. I'm just, playing within the rules to make sure that if the AV did go up, which it's not, but if it did, then I've asked for enough and we could net enough tax levy, okay? And so rainy day and general fund don't get taxes from the local area. It is strictly from income tax and given to us every month on the 15th of every month. We get our tuition payment. And so that has nothing to do with taxes for our local property tax. It has to do with income tax and gambling. So this is a little bit different. So we don't ask for dollars to be raised, and we don't get any dollars to be raised there. And so we're good with that. I want you to notice that debt service, I've requested $1 million less for debt service this year, because I didn't ask for an operating balance that typically I would love to be able to get, an operating balance to pay my bills in January. However, the bills don't go out till March or April. I don't net the income until May. I do have bills in January. Remember my common request to go to the Indiana Bond Bank and have some cash flow dollars? This year, they're going to give you whatever you can prove and authorize for your debt. They're going to give you the law changed. We understand that law. They will net and give you out of your taxes every dime it takes to pay debt service. So this will be funded. Typically, we only get $6.6 million total to spend. If we bottled up 5.1 of it to keep one fund with some money in it, that would be a bad thing. We need to buy technology. We need to pay for our network. We need to pay for things. So I requested $1 million less in debt service. And that's okay. I did that on purpose. Which then gave me a few extra dollars down through here into school pension debt and CPF and transportation and bus replacement. So I've kind of funneled those dollars down there. Will they give me those dollars? The answer is no. We're probably going to net exactly what the 1% taxpayer who owns a home is going to pay, the 2% we get from the apartments, and the 3% we get from the non-TIF businesses. Typically, that's $6.6 million. I mean, that's exactly what we net year after year after year. I think since the AV is going down 3%, my sources tell me it's going to go down 3%, I think we should anticipate a lowering of funding for 2013 anywhere from $250,000 to $350,000. Add the $71,000 for the COIC, county option income tax, and we're up to $371,000. Less funding for 2013. I really think that that's something that's going to dominate our conversation in the next 6 to 9 months. And so I just want to tell you, I know that's coming. Will that cause us to make some different changes as far as expenditures and spending pattern? It probably will. And so this isn't a happy, really positive thing, but I wanted to let you know that it is on the horizon, and I do anticipate when the AD comes out, we're going to lose money. So you need to know that. So these are the dollars. An overall budget, again, I asked for 9.8 in taxes. We'll only get 6.6 if we get as much as possible. But that doesn't raise the homeowner's tax rate, okay? So just so you know that. So that's just kind of the way that's going, okay? Any questions about my notice to taxpayers and the different funds and how those dollars are? Because I have just 2 other forms to do and then I'll be done. Because I'd like to do a motion for the CPF plan and the bus replacement plan. I worked diligently on those and I think they're ready to be adopted tonight. And then all of that will be approved on October 9th. But tonight I want the plan to be approved so I can put them in the newspaper and say that we've made a plan and we're we're looking at adopting it. So do you have any questions specifically? I know it's a lot of information, and I apologize for the complexity. It is something, though, I teach. So every year, and I've taught it for 2 years, so I'm teaching prospective superintendents how to do this. So it's something I really do feel comfortable knowing, and I can answer any question you might have on it. And if anybody in the public wants to come by my office and wants me to go through some funds or some dollars, I have had some takers on that in the last couple of years, too. I can explain the dollars a little bit. It's really complex and it gets a little dry, but it is something that I like, so it's something I can explain if you ever want to go into depth in it.
Just to quickly summarize, our $20 million in general fund, that all comes from income tax, lottery funds. It is not a local property tax. We're going to be in that 19.5 to 20 million. That's an accurate amount. So you saw $30 million in there. We'll probably net about 26 and change. Okay, so as Tom said, we over-advertise. The general fund is pretty on target, and the debt service is on target. And here's the capital projects notice that was also in the paper. And as Tom said, we're going to ask you to approve the CPF plan yet this evening.
And on this form, this is what we're going to ask you to approve tonight. On this form, as you can see, my estimation of cash balance January 1. And this is out of what used to be $2.2 million, right? I have my cash balance under $60,000. If you look at other school districts, that is unheard of, that minimal dollar amount. I mean, we only get $650 now. We spend every dime to keep our network running, to keep carpet, to wax the floors, and to mow the lawn. So that's not a very high cash balance. And you can kind of see how I divided it in there. Fixed equipment, mobile equipment, technology, and of course 400,000 of the 650 pays the sewer and electricity and the HVAC. So that's that's 2/3 of our entire levy that I get can be spent on just energy costs. So we don't have a lot of wiggle room. We're not frivolous in that area. So that's a good plan. I think it's approximately the same for 3 years. And then our school bus replacement plan, it does not have to be funded by the DLGF. And if they feel we need more money in other areas like CPF, they won't fund this. And we're okay with that because I can use some other funds like referendum or rainy day to buy or help support a bus. And I have done that with you by requesting that of you in the past. So I'm not as worried about the school bus replacement plan. I just have put in the plan that we might want, if we had the funding, to buy 2 buses per year to keep our 26. And to be quite honest with you, in the next 2 years, I do have to buy a bus, and that's about $140,000. And will I have the money to do that? I don't know. It's a lot of money. But I put it in the plan because this is for a budget, you want to put it in there because if you don't ask for it, you won't get it. And then even when, remember I talked about in January, February, I get something called 1782 notice. It's kind of like a preliminary budget. If I don't have enough money in other places and I can force it elsewhere with the taxes, I'll drop this to 0 once I see what the AV is. So I just stick it in there and then I can eliminate it. So it's kind of one of those usages of asking for the dollars so that if we did have a higher AV, which again I don't think we will, but that's the school bus replacement plan, and it is required as well. And as you know, last year, remember how much money we borrowed or we got for taxes and school bus replacement? 0. So that's something that it's not just words. I mean, it's exactly what we do. If we have to fill it into other places for technology or energy or HVAC, then I just drop it to 0. And to show you, I did that in 2012. So it's kind of a skinny budget, but it's as on target as I can possibly get. So it's the best I can do. So Gateway is a computer program, and right now they have red, yellow, and green. I can assure you that every one of these areas has a green box in it, and it's ready to submit. By law, I'm not allowed to submit it until you have signed, sealed, and approved October 9th. Okay? So without further ado, that's kind of my budget here. Yes, sir.
On your transportation side, what's the total number that we have in our fleet right now?
26 buses,
26.
correct?
Do you happen to know what the age of the oldest bus in service is?
16 years is my estimation. I can't tell you, we keep ours a little longer than other school corporations. Other school corporations keep them really no more than 12, 13, but we only have an 8-mile square area, so we aren't traveling long distance, and we very rarely go on the highway unless we go to go to sporting events and things. So we're real local. So the engines in our buses don't get the wear and tear necessarily that, like a Benton Community Schools that has, 60-some miles to travel from one end to the other. So our buses actually last a little bit longer. So even though we have some older fleet buses, we bought some used in the last 3 years too, I'll be honest. We bought some Franklin Township and some Decatur Township because the price was right and they were having issues with their busing programs, and so we seized on an opportunity and I snuck away a couple of their buses. So we do have an older fleet, but they're looked at and inspected by the state police every summer, so they're certified. Does that mean we won't need buses in the future? No, it means we probably do. So we have an older fleet.
Do you happen to know what the age of the newest bus is?
I bought one year ago. But I think we have about 6 new buses in the last 5 years. So we average about 1 year.
The bus replacement plan is set up on a 13-year basis. And you can see this in this. I can't read with not my old man glasses, but up here it talks about we've gone from actually a 10-year plan to a 12-year plan.
Yeah, it's 2013 to 2024. So we have a 12-year plan, and that's what they require us to do is go on a 12-year. It used to be 10, and everybody would replace and kind of raise taxes in certain areas. We're capped with our taxes, so we don't have any free money to move the tax rate at all. I mean, we are absolutely capped and have been for 4 years. So that 12-year plan is as good as it's going to get, but we keep our buses a little bit longer.
And my final question was, do you know or have a ballpark figure for an annual cost of the basic preventative maintenance, oil change, tire change? Nothing major, just the basic preventative maintenance schedule that the buses are on. What do you think you use annually?
I think that has increased, certainly, in the last 3 years. We have a part-time mechanic, and I did that because we were having labor and shop costs outside that were getting extensive. So I've replaced that with a mechanic. In efforts to do those brake jobs, hydraulics is a big deal that somebody here can save a lot of money by working on hydraulics, replace tires, things like that. So I've decreased the cost of that. I don't have a dollar-by-dollar analysis of that. If I had to anticipate and give you out of $900,000 in the transportation department, $700 go to salaries. So that leaves $250,000. Certainly $150,000 goes to gasoline. So what am I at? $850. So $100,000. Right in that $100,000. Does that mean we haven't replaced an engine here or there and it's gone up? Absolutely. Do I use referendum dollars to support that and go over budget in that? You got to have the buses running. So yeah, I would anticipate, ballpark figure, 100 and a half.
In fact, we can get that information for you. We can go back very easily in our system, pull a 3-year total for comparison.
That's great. The computer system has these by object in codes that I know exactly what went to human beings. So I know the bus driver cost exactly out of a $950,000 budget. I know what went to equipment, lubricants and gasoline. I know those dollars because I can just ask for the object code. If it's a 110, then it's people money. If it's a 320, it's a 350, then it's equipment like that. So I can have a really good 3-year analysis if that's something we want to look at.
Well, I'm just curious. I'm a transportation conversation.
Yeah, it's a great thing. And you know, Wayne, Mr. Saunders over there, if he was standing here right now, I mean, he could go right through it. Because he and I battle, because I cut the check or I use the debit card, right? And he says, I got it. And I said, do you really? Come on. And so I kind of work him. And so he and I battle and butt heads. So he knows exactly the dollar. And I try to think that it's less. So.
Dr. Kelly, we had discussed talking to the city about maintaining the city's vehicles to kind of co-op and cut costs. Is that something else we continue to talk to them about?
Yeah, I stopped talking about that because we don't have a bay. And without a bay where people can easily go underneath and effectively do oil changes quickly, easily, efficiently, with a grate on top that's really safety oriented, I feel like the traffic of trash trucks and fire trucks and police vehicles and other maintenance vehicles would unfortunately overwhelm our garage, because our garage is a one-way in and one-way out. It's not a pass-through garage. And it's my belief that unless we do a facility change, and I investigated that, it's really expensive. I'm not sure that, I think that it will cost us a lot more dollars for the school corporation than the anticipated. I'm not sure we'll meet in the middle and be equal, if you know what I mean.
Right.
So I'm a little leery, I'm really leery of doing that right now, because as my dollars go down, I hate to tell them, yeah, this is going to work out, and then after 1 year say, well, sorry, shoot for you.
I just remember we were
So it's kinda
discussing
hard.
when we got the ride buses and we got those extra
Yeah.
buses and expanded our
Yeah.
fencing.
I talked to a couple different city councilmen. I talked to a couple of them, and we could get the progress of that conversation for 2.5 years. And I even investigated the bay, and I got that priced out. And it's incredible to make a real garage. It's really a lot. So I just don't feel like we can do facilities right now. So that's just kind of my
Talk to them about possibly partnering with the purchase of gas. Did we do that too?
We have done that. The problem with that is what you pay for is tanker distribution, the transport from the refinery to here. We can't afford a full tanker load because we don't have a tank. They have a tank that supports their services, so we can't fuel on their location. So we're again into a facilities problem because our tank only holds a half of a tanker full of gas. So it ends up being a real serious problem. So instead, I went to something new, and that is a guaranteed price, fixed cost for gasoline for the whole year, no matter what the fluctuation is, depending on an earthquake or a hurricane. And I feel like I'll have a good report coming up in January. We're finishing our first full year of a budgeted fuel cost.
Southwest Airlines did that and saved millions. Of course, we're not Southwest Airlines, but
Right.
they did save money.
I think that when I look at the prices that happened in June, July, and August, I think the report that'll come out in December, January for me, I think we'll save money. But again, that's what I was looking for was a flat dollar, a budget guy, right? And then I got that. I got my flat dollar. If gas prices would have tanked, I'd be telling you a different story, but they didn't. So I look kind of smart today. Next year, there'll be no hurricane. I don't know. So it's kind of tough. So I'm always shooting at a moving target. It's pretty hard.
So when you order your tanker, how often do you do it quarterly? If you're taking a tanker's 5,000 gallons, you're taking 2,500 gallons every time.
Yeah, I do it through a co-op. And so we're one stop of one tanker where they fuel out a certain amount. So we pair up through the service center and through the Indiana Bond Bank. We pair up with like corporations that can share a tank. And so I don't know where that tanker goes. I just know we just share into that tank.
Right, but I probably should have asked.
More than quarterly.
More than quarterly?
Yeah, I would say more than quarterly. I'd say every other month is because I pay the bill. So I see the bill come across by the, so it's not quarterly. Our tank isn't that, it just doesn't hold that much. And it has to do with traffic. Yeah, it has to do with traffic too. If we're, right now we're using a lot of gas. June and July we weren't. And so we do it as a need basis. It's kind of like the fuel gauge goes down, we don't buy, we order a tanker to come through.
So you just always try to maintain these 2,500 gallons on hand during school year?
Oh, no, we let it go down to a quarter. We map out our fuel usage, and then we buy on 6 weeks, we buy on 9 weeks as a need. We just kind of watch our fuel gauge like people watch their tank in their car.
Okay.
So it's a moving target too a little bit. But again, Wayne can tell you right when the deal is out. It's good.
So if we have no more questions, we need to get a motion to close the budget hearing.
Motion to close the budget hearing.
Rick? Tim, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Do we want to go ahead and do the bus replacement plan? Okay, we need a motion to adopt the 2013 bus replacement plan. Beth? Second. Judy, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And to adopt the 2013 capital projects plan. Beth?
Second.
Rick, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And we haven't talked about this Affinity debit card.
Yeah, it's just a system, and there's going to be a big public push once it's approved. But basically, Indiana Members Credit Union has come to us, and they want to offer Hornet cards for anybody who opens an account at Indiana Members Credit Union, and it's going to have a little Hornet on there. And so, before I give up to the Georgia Tech Hornet to send all the way out there, I felt it necessary to put that in front of our school attorney to have him review that document. It doesn't cost us anything. It has nothing to do with us other than it's our name, the Hornets. We get money from it. So 1%, what was the, it says here, they'll give us just to, what they think is it'll produce more accounts at Indiana Members Credit, and I don't disagree. So just with them putting a Hornet card available, they're going to give us $1,500 cash. Outstanding. Why say no to money, right? So then, they also will give us 1%, what was it? 2 cents from every transaction. So we get 2 pennies for every single swipe of the card, for all the cards that are out there, for everybody at Indiana Members Credit Union who requests a Hornet card.
They can make a bill.
Well, yeah, so it's no law, it's no cost to us. So I went ahead and
Is it
said I was,
just the Hornet logo? Is that?
yeah, and it says Go Hornets. We get to design that. It is nice. They made a little mock-up card for me. It's pretty cool.
How soon will we know about that?
As soon as you approve.
Well, I mean, how soon will we?
Oh, their campaign. When I contact them and tell them it's a go, they'll do a capital campaign in the local area. So you'll see commercials. You'll see something in the newspaper that says, "Hey, get out there! Indiana Members Credit Union now has the Go Hornet. Support your local school system."
The girls over there are really nice. They were at the
Yeah.
high school for back to school night, popcorn and get people to sign up. They really support the community.
They're a really good bank for us right now too, because they present every brand new employee, they get $50 if they'll open up their checking account with their bank, and so it's really a positive cooperation right now.
So, would like to make a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I bet Rick Beech, would you like to make a second? No? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, and then we've got a personnel.
All right, change hats real quick. And, personnel report is in there, and it's quite a, it's not nearly as lengthy as it has been in the past, but a couple of highlights. Carl Palma, I don't know if you've met our trainer. He is employed by Community Health now, and Carl just is well received by all of our athletes, our athletic department, our coaches. He is outstanding at what he does, and I'm asking that you approve him to be also helping out during his time in the day here, since he is a full-time person through community. He has opportunities to be here on site and help in a classroom atmosphere. He's really good with that athletic training and first aid and those things. And so that's kind of a highlight. I personally just think the world of Carl because I think he's very well trained. He's very good for our students. Megan Burns is in that report, so the new kindergarten teacher, so that's good. Also, our high school library instructional assistant was a media center, just kind of used to check out books, and now with our curriculum being in the media center now, her roles and duties have increased dramatically. So I've asked to have her have a substitute license and working directly with kids on a daily basis, and that really is her role already. I feel like it's appropriate to pay her sub pay, which is $10 an hour, versus paying her aid, kind of an educational aid pay, which is $8.50. It's my general rule, and I think I've mentioned it during my 5 years as business and personnel. If you're working directly with kids, if you're responsible for teaching and mentoring our kids, you at least deserve to be paid as much as a substitute teacher, which is $10 an hour. And so that's the only piece of that that I wanted to explain, because I just think it's critical. I've also worked with Dr. Amick a little bit with our instructional one-to-one, special education aides and others like that. I'm moving to trying to certify every single employee who works directly with kids to have a substitute teaching license. I think it's important. The state recognizes it as a license. I think we should recommend it and require it as well. We didn't typically in the past, and so I don't know if you'll hear grumblings from employees when I'm asking them to do that, but I just think it's common sense. So FYI, I sent out a memo that I'm starting to require that. Okay, so that's parts of personnel report. Brian Michael, weekend facility manager. I think that's a critical piece. It was very successful last year. Who's the go-to on the weekends? And it is nice, though. We do have Mr. Parker, who has offered to be on call on the weekends. So anybody who has a security issue, I'll bring that up at our next principals meeting. He's offered. You might want to think about that. But also to schedule these things and kind of supervise. Brian Michael is our corporation treasurer, but he also has some time on the weekend when he said that he'd like to help some of the facility stuff that we do. Sometimes it's just nice to have a staff member on hand for boosters. It's somebody who has the phone numbers and who can pick up a radio and knows what to do. So he's well trained in that. So that's a successful area as well.
Any other questions?
Motion to approve the personnel update, and a big congratulations for Carl on his weight loss.
Yes.
That's exciting.
He looks fantastic.
He looks fantastic.
Can I get a second on this?
I'll second it.
Nancy, all in favor?
Aye.
Dr. Kaiser, operations update.
Very quickly, we talked a lot about the Hornet Richmond Academy. It is located attached to Huntington Bank, and Don and Martha Clark, they own that. They're real estate brokers in this area. They also have some property further down on Emerson Avenue. But we appreciated the fact they gave us a hometown discount on the property, and so we have that tied in that rate for at least 2 years. And special thanks to Don Henderson. One of my connections at Noblesville Schools gave us lots of really nice science cabinets that we've installed out there. And so this is a motion to approve the lease. Again, if you'd like to go visit one afternoon, if you're off, give me a call. Either one of us will go over there with you, because the door's locked. But like I said, we'd love to have you tour the facility. And as Steve said, we've got about 35 kids in there, and we've got some more being enrolled this week. So this is to approve the lease with Don and Marshall.
I'd like to add too, Dr. Kaiser gave me a tour Friday, and it's unbelievable. The learning environment that the kids have, if I would have had that available to me when I was this age, that would have been my learning environment. It's unbelievable, and lots of room to grow.
How about a motion about the spirit word? You want to talk about the spirit word?
We need a motion.
We need a motion. Oh, I'm sorry. A motion to approve the lease agreement. I'm sorry, for the Richmond Academy. Tim? Beth, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Now we're going to talk about spirit bearer.
Well, I'd ask Robin to talk about this, and she's the expert. But a special thanks to Robin and Brian for what they've done. Our office looks like Beech Grove, Spirit Wear Central, which is great. And we really want to promote our school corporation, and so we're about to launch our website, where you can basically go through that process in order. Robin, can you give us a Cliff Notes version, once set up and running, how that will work?
Once it's set up, it'll be through Google Wallet. You'll set up a Google Wallet account of your own and order from the website, and a portion the entire profit of every item goes back to the schools.
Will it be coming to a central location or is that home delivery?
Whoever is ordering can choose a school to have it delivered to. Your lovely secretaries have all volunteered to be the keepers of the spiritware at the buildings, and as long as people come to pick it up during school hours, there will be there waiting for them. Or if you have a student in a building, you can specify that it can be sent home with your student.
Miss Robin, was I the first customer?
No. You weren't, I'm sorry.
You could have lied to me a little.
No,
But you can be the first customer at the fall festival.
Absolutely.
Actually, we're selling at homecoming also, so Friday night we'll have a little table set up there. But again, a special thanks to our team to put this together. And I know I made more than one purchase for my family members and
Who was our first
myself.
customer?
I have a nice orange shirt just like this that I'll be wearing Friday. So, but I appreciate it. It's a really great way to put some money into our schools and things they like to do.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the corporation fundraiser program. Tim,
Second.
Rick, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, other business, Dr. Kaiser.
Very quickly, last year we had 92 new students to the school district. So when our budget was approved by the DLGF, they shorted us on appropriation. Appropriation is permission to spend. So what we need to do is go back and Tom, at the October meeting, we go through a hearing similar to what we just did, and we just present to the community that we've already got the money coming in, so we're not asking for cash, but we have to ask for permission to spend the cash. It's just a legal process, and it'll take 3 or 4 minutes to do it. But Tom has to advertise 10 days ahead of time. We have a short hearing. We'll talk very quickly about the cash flow related to that. And then we send that to Department of Local Government Finance, which is DLGF, which are our friends. And then they'll send us a note and say, yes, you can spend money that you already have in your bank. So that's what what has to take place.
I move we advertise for additional appropriation hearing.
Beth, second? Tim, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Do you want to talk about that?
I'll talk very briefly on a couple of projects. In your board packet, you have some detailed verbiage that I've kind of talked about various topics. The Main Street project, Mr. Buckley and I met with the Crossroads Engineering Group, and they laid out on our table Main Street, which took, if you know the conference table, it took the full length, had every aspect of the Main Street project. They are supposed to let bids, I believe, this week or next week. Once that contractor is hired, based on their bid process, and then that person will determine the time frame of what part of Main Street they're going to start and what they're going to do. Now, obviously, they'll take recommendations from Crossroads, which again is a Beech Grove company. They're right there on the back road, 17th, yeah, Sherman Drive. So, good company to work with. I've been involved in that process a little bit. So, they will be starting up. At some point in time, they'll be in front of the Central Elementary School. And if you saw in your Dropbox, I had a map that gave us pretty much, they're going to ask to take 10th Street and make it two-way when they have Main Street blocked off. So that's kind of the update. We don't know when they're going to do, they're going to start this fall. Where they're going to start, we don't know. They'll stop for the winter months. Their goal is to get a lot of the sewer work done so they don't have to totally block off roads. If you would like, the engineer from Crossroads would be glad to come speak and give you more details, but that's kind of the Cliff Notes version. We know it's going to take place, we just don't know when. We know that Main Street in front of Central will be blocked off, and we've in the past have had discussions about seeing if 10th Street could become a two-way street permanently, and you know, we'll see. This will be a good test to see how that works. We're going to have some extra Beech Grove police officers there at Albany and 10th Street to help the left turn traffic coming in. We think that's a real concern, so we'll work with the mayor on that as that comes about. So that's a quick summary.
Anybody have any questions about that? Okay, I think that's all we have. have any success stories? Sorry, I was in a hurry. I'm so sorry.
Michelle and I became grandparents today.
Oh,
Three. She was 6 pounds, 8 ounces, 18.
Congratulations.
That's good. You're too young to be a grandparent.
And I got a 6-month-old uncle.
Anybody else?
Yeah, over the last couple of months, let me backtrack. Back in 2009, the year after I came back to Beech Grove, I had group volunteers, and we just would go out and help people do things, or clean up stuff. Well, it's kind of exploded into a nice little community group. And right now, we're building the stage down in the outdoor theater show there, where Beech 180 shows their outdoor movies. So it's like being at a drive-in minus your car. I mean, it's a pretty nice thing. We've been building that stage, but we've had a lot of students from the high school that have came over to help and have learned very much of carpentry work. So it's good to see them involved not only with the community, but they're learning a skill that later in life they may be able to use.
So can those students get community service awards or something?
We can work toward that. We got some names.
I think we should take their names, like, or whoever. I think we should definitely do something.
Well, you know, hopefully we'll be done in another 2, well, we have to be done by October, that's when the big booyah is done. I want to wait, make sure, till the project's completed before I pass on anything. It's been good to have them out there, they're doing something positive instead of out running around.
It's nice to see the kids giving back too. Anybody else?
I'd like to thank Indiana Farm Bureau for donating $5,000 to our FFA chapter. And I'm extremely proud of Beech Grove and what we've done. When you talk to teachers from other districts that we tell them of our life sciences and our FFA program that we're adding, and they look at me and they say, well, we're cutting programs. Well, come to Beech Grove.
And move here too.
Right.
I move we adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.